So I did that. I spent about five and a half hours yesterday leveling these to level 10, making notes, and seeing how it went. And here are my notes. I'll go slow through them. I'm just going to read these, exactly what I wrote. So the heirloom gear gets stats at 3. That's where you start to see the big increase, the difference between the heirloom gear and whatever you pick up. So once I left Northshire and went into Elwyn Forest, I did the stuff down at the farms and that first mine it sends you to. And then I went over to Eastvale Logging Camp. So when I did that on the mage, I specifically went for the quest that gave me the green items first. So you'll see the 2 or 3 green items you get from Eastvale. I get first with the mage around level 6 or 7. Also at level 8, the mage gets Arcane Intellect, and it's a 5% buff to Int. And I used it because I feel like a mage would use that. It is what it is. It's built into the class. That's what we're using. But also at level 8, it's only 1 more damage on the Frostbolt. That 5% Int. So it wasn't that big of a deal. And once you hit 27, you get a 5% buff to your primary stats, that being Intellect. I did 3 humans. I jumped on an orc to see. I think it's just a light armor buff. So at 27, you get a 5% buff to your primary, which is Intellect. When I ran the priest, I was going to check the new zone to see if you could speed level it faster, but you can't access heirlooms right away, so I had to go back to Northshire. And the priest actually felt like the fastest damage until about level 8, which is weird because once you see the numbers, you'll understand why. So the warlock, I got to level 10 in 2 hours and 10 minutes. That's with me stopping to do all the data entry after I ding and change my armor, change it back, enter the numbers. I didn't get a green stat gear until level 7. And that was the chest piece over in Eastvale. All this green stuff comes from Eastvale. I got the +2 Int boots at level 9. You could get it at level 6. And I got the red sash at level 9 for +2 Int. You can get all this at level 6, level 7. However, the collector reward went rare. And it got +1 Int. It has +1 Int on it when it's green, so I don't know why it's different when it's blue. Maybe more armor. And I did hit level 9 was the 50 quests. Every time. Every time level 9 was 50 quests. And you hit level 10 if you go Demon Spec. Shadow Bolt only does 18 damage where the other specs is 20. And I believe that's because it makes a shard. So they have to nerf it a little bit. Mage, I got level 10 in an hour 40. And this one, I got the Int boots at 6. Didn't change anything. 1 Int didn't change anything. The red linen sash went rare. Still only 1 intellect. But that one with the other one actually changed the stats in the heirloom and the non-heirloom columns. At level 8, I got the +2 Int robe and the +2 Int bracers from the collector reward. At 50 quests was level 9 again, so it's got to be the same. And the level 10 specs are for Frost spec. Also Fireball Rex. At level 10, it's pretty nuts the damage right there. So for Priest, I did it in about an hour 40, I believe, as well. Smite has no mana cost, so that threw my numbers off, but Smite has no mana and is going to be a 1.5 or 1.4 second cast. And I believe as humans, you get a 5% to like a secondary stat, and I think it was haste. So every single one of these classes, you'll see the main spell get a little bit faster. So with the priest, I did the stuff to the south of the farms with Billy McClure and all that crap, and the mine before I went to the lumber mill. With the priest, I didn't do the quest in order. I didn't go for the green items first because the other two characters, you can see it doesn't really matter. I got mana regen at some point. That was fun. I got the 2 int boots at 9 and the 2 int belt at 10. And if you go shadow form, it's a small increase of 10% damage. So now what I'm going to do is bring up the actual spreadsheet that I made. Bringing that up on the screen here real quick. Once I get into it, I should have had this ready, but you know, I didn't. So we'll go here. Okay, I'm gonna full screen this F11 so you don't have to look at too much. And I'm gonna, yeah, that's still pretty legible. Can I make it 50? Can you still read that at 50? Not really. We'll go here. So I know it's a lot to look at, but Warlock right here and the spell, and I only use these main spells because at 10 I'm back here doing like hand and arm gestures. I don't have my camera on, but like I'm just doing hand and arm gestures, like you can see this. At level 1 everything is the same. The mana is the same for everybody. You get the same amount no matter your race, which class. It was all the same. Intellect didn't improve it. I haven't played a caster in a while, so whatever. Or paid attention. Let me say I haven't paid attention for a while. So here's what happens. The Shadow Bolt at rank 1 at level 1 costs 4 mana, has a cast time of 2 seconds, does 7 damage, and mathematically that is 1.75 damage per mana, 0.57 mana per damage, a DPS of 3.5, and my base intellect was 20. So I wanted to do this because I was playing Wrath and I was messing with different spell ranks, and I wanted to know if it was worth it to cast a rank 2 over a rank 3 over a given amount of time. So if I'm going to cast it 10 times, would I be, if I have enough mana to cast a rank 3 10 times, but I have a rank 2 that I can cast 12 times, I want to know if the difference was worth it. Should I cast the rank 2 for cheaper? So that's how this kind of started. And then the heirloom gear is still 4, cast time of 2, but the damage is 8. So the damage per minute is 2, the mana per damage is 5, the DPS is 4, and you see that 1 extra intellect is where this damage number popped up. That's what makes that better. 2, level 2 about the same. No big changes. Now 3 is where they start to separate, right? Because like I said, 3 is where the heirloom gear gets their intellect. That's where the intellect stat gets put on the gear. So you're 4 for cost. You're still at a cast time of 2 seconds, but look, 9 damage, but 14 for non-heirloom, and it just gets crazier from there. Well, technically, I think they each only go up by a couple until level 5. Damage per mana, mana per damage, DPS, and my total intellect number. See that big jump. After that, it's not that big. They just go a couple. Until down here. But that's where we got the green gear that stacks with the heirloom gear. Like the boots and the belt. Now level 4. We have a 1.9 second cast. So this is where you start to see the first reduction in cast for normal and heirloom. But the numbers are still growing apart, right? Cost, cast, damage, damage per mana, mana per damage, DPS. Same thing at 5. They're just, you can see the gap is widening here, right? Because 5.2, 5.7, you're at half a DPS upgrade. But here, 7.8, call it 7.9 to 7.5. I mean, that's a lot. Over a whole DPS. And I do this up to level 10. you can see level 6, level 7, level 8, level 9. That was a big jump because that's where I got a bunch of green armor that didn't have, let me think about this. I got the boots and the belt, which is not heirloom gear. So the boot and the belt plus the heirloom gear we got up here. And then at level 10, the spell was upgraded. It was a 6 cost. It was back to 2 cast time for non-heirloom. Still a 1.9 for heirloom. 18 damage, 26 damage. 3 mana per damage. 4.3 mana per damage. 0.33 damage per mana. Oh, no, I think I got these backwards. I have to look. Yeah, it's damage per mana. Yeah, damage per mana. Mana per damage. DPS. And at level 10, I ended with 65 int. Seems pretty good, right? I mean, it is. It is pretty good. But we'll come down here to mage. And since I've already explained everything, you guys can see these numbers for yourself. I'm going to pull this down a little bit so we can see, still see some warlock numbers. So if you look for DPS, the mage from the rip Frostbolt was better. I mean, it does more damage and it puts a 50% slow. Shadowbolt doesn't see 5.5 until Red Route level 3. Level 3 non-heirloomed is about 4.5. So about level 3 is when Warlock is in about the same damage as a level 1 mage. And then it just 6.5. Again, here's that big jump at level 3 where the heirloom gear stacks int, right? And it just level 4. The numbers just keep getting farther and farther apart. Now, we'll come down here. Spoiler alert. Come down here, and if you look at level 10, this is with Frost Spec. So I think it does a little less damage. Actually, I know it does. Look at the numbers. It does a little less damage. But I forget. I don't remember why. But level 9 was the most damage for the mage. 1 to 10. In heirloom gear, you're at 17.37 DPS with just a Frostbolt. Cost of 8, 1.9 cast, 33 damage to the face, 4 damage per mana, 0.24 mana per damage. You said DPS, and that was my int number. And level 10 is Frost Spec with the extra gear, so that's why there's more int here. Now for the Fireball. Once I hit level 10, I checked out the Fireball, and this was a little ridiculous. It has a base cost of 10. Just highlight this. But if we go down the heirloom side, it's a 2.1 second cast as opposed to 2.3. Look at the damage difference. 39 to 55. 16 damage. Damage per minute. 6.8. That's 2 extra damage per minute. Which doesn't seem like a lot if you can drop a mob with 3. But if you're fighting raid bosses or you're PvPing, stuff like that, it's kind of important. Mana per damage. Obviously, more efficient with your heirloom gear. The DPS number really struck out to me because you're at 26. Nothing had been that high. What's the global cooldown? A second and a half. That you can't cast this as fast. We can't cast these as fast either, I think. But oh yeah, you can. Back to back. Oh, that was dumb. I don't know why I said that. I'm not gonna edit this out. So, you just keep spamming it. Every 2.1 seconds, you're doing 55 damage. So whatever. And that's where I got. If I keep doing this, I'm gonna go to. I'll do it like every 5. You know, maybe. maybe every 5 I think is a good one. My heirlooms only go to 34, so that's fun. So then I started working with priest. This is where it broke my formula, because smite doesn't cost anything. Like I said, same mana numbers throughout. Intellect numbers are generally the same just because it's all the same gear. But this is where it's fun. Smite starts at a 1.5 second cast. 1.4 seconds, or is it at level 5 because event, I believe. Instantly, 6 DPS at level 1. Right. At level 1 as a warlock, you're doing 4. At level 1 as a mage, you're doing 5.5 in heirloom gear. And not to mention, this is 6 without heirloom gear. Oops. You go to level 2. 1 more damage. It's not big. It makes it 6.67. Same. Samesies. Level 3, when you get heirloom gear that starts getting intellect on it, you see the jump here. 16 damage on a spell. On a 1.5 second cast. 10, almost 11 DPS. At level 3. Call it 10. Come up here. You don't see level 10. Mage is pretty close. Warlock doesn't see 10 until about level 6. I thought Priest was going to be the slowest to spam and kill stuff, but because Smite being so fast and this powerful, pretty ridiculous. We'll come up to 5. Big jump in intellect here. Now it's a 1.4 second cast doing 21 damage. So you're at 15 DPS. It's a little overpowered to me. Little overpowered. Jump from 5, 6, you're up at 15. You can see it just gets crazier. And at level 10, you're doing just over 20 DPS. In shadow form, if you're still throwing smite at level 10, you can do 23 DPS because it's a 32 damage, 1.4 second cast spell, and still costs 0 mana. 23 DPS at level 10. That's a little insane to me at level 10, because look at these other level 10s. 16, 17 for the mage, and just under 14 for the warlock. Now, warlock does have Voidwalker. Warlock does have imp. I didn't factor in the imp's DPS. Maybe I should have done that. Maybe I'll do that and just get a solid level 10 number. But by himself is less than 14. I should add in the imp, because if I add in arcane intellect from the mage, I should do it for the imp. But yeah, those are the numbers I found, which surprised me. I thought priest was going to be the weakest. I thought warlock was probably going to be the best, which it might be with its imp. Mage, fire mage would probably be pretty sick, just to smash, just fire, you know. Drop that down. Went over all this, yeah. So I'll scroll back up these in case you just want to see what I was doing. But that is the 19-minute story of why I have a level 10 warlock, a level 10 mage, and a level 10 priest, all human. He did it for the spreadsheets because it was just information I wanted to see. Maybe you'll want to see it too. I know some guys are nerds for numbers like me. And like I said, I'm going to take them all to 15 and see how big the difference is. I think that'll be fun. 15 and maybe 20. At 20, you can probably work the math out to figure out how much percentage the difference is going to be every 5, at least in heirloom gear. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Like I said, this is about to hit 20 minutes. It's going to be unedited. I didn't think it was going to be this long because I can talk fast, but apparently I didn't talk fast enough. But thanks for watching, guys. If you stuck around to the end, especially thank you. So yeah, take it easy.